Hello, and welcome to more snarky notes about our absurd culture. In the fall, the war was always there, but we did not go to it anymore. In Another Country, 1927, Ernest Hemingway. China will never be public enemy number one, but Sam will make it so, and other things to fear. China will never be as good at killing Americans as Americans, unless given the chance. It doesn't take too much to make Sam's dreams come true. USS Maddox at the Chinese balloon. Joe ordered it shot down. An F-22 made it so. An F-22 against a balloon. Wow. As always, a mismatch. Now Sam has another excuse. Shine your boots, service your kit, take your sights off your fellow Americans, and take a bead on a brand new enemy. Before we go to war with China, the U.S. needs a civil war to resolve its gas stove feud. And that's not all. They have many things to fight over. Have people forgotten about gun rights, abortion pills, Build Back Better, government documents, laptops, neo-Nazis, workers' wages, far-right bounty hunters, Medicare for all, vaccines, mask mandates, the Second Amendment, Twitter files, BLM, Me Too, oil and gas, and the war on drugs? Ne'er a grievance has been solved. Oh, and let's not forget that everything is a conspiracy in the USA. Silk now claims a bioweapon sprayed into the air killed her sister, Diamond. But as far as the culture wars goes, wait, let's find out what ChatGPT has to say about the culture wars. Some of the most controversial and divisive topics in the United States' culture wars include: number 1, gun control; 2, immigration; 3, race and racism; 4, police brutality and the criminal justice system; 5, climate change and the environment; 6, reproductive rights and abortion; 7, marriage equality and LGBTQ rights; 8, healthcare and insurance; 9, political polarization and misinformation; 10, freedom of speech and censorship. These issues often generate strong emotions and opinions, leading to heated debates and disagreements between different groups. Well, yeah, ChatGPT, but there are so many more. Americans both love to hang on to things and forget things. Does anyone remember the Red Scare and the McCarthy era? Better dead than red. We fought a long war in Vietnam after that period of hysteria. Americans are mad about many things, and very mad at each other. If you bring up the price of eggs, poverty, homelessness, infrastructure, government debt, economics, Wall Street, woke, electric cars, oil and gas, alternative energy, education, books, social media, smartphones, the NFL, stress, trauma, healthcare, cancer cure, conspiracy, almost anything that matters will spark a fight. 8% of Floridians have gas stoves, but DeSantis promises to fight a potential ban. He'll do practically anything to stop people from using electric ranges and ovens. The microwave oven industry is quaking in its boots now. What electric appliances are good and which ones are evil? DeSantis believes that defending gas stoves is a matter of principle. I swear the governor will run out of gauntlets way before the presidential campaign heats up. Quote, "They want your gas stove, and we're not going to let that happen," the governor said on last Wednesday. The gas industry is under fire. Oh no! But wait, what about the Chinese spy balloon? And some people say that there are toxic metals in baby food, but don't mention another incendiary topic: regulators, or you might get fragged. Just when you thought you'd lost trust in every possible institution in the United States, you're confronted with the toxic baby food wars. Get litigious on it. A toxic baby food class action lawsuit was thrown out. This will get stinkier than a 1-year-old's diaper. Will Americans ever have enough to fight over? Where are the toxic baby food contrarians? Heterodox podcasters had better get busy on this scoop. Everything is toxic, and the dose makes the poison. There are more obese kids than ever before, and dealing with the obese-epidemic will be the biggest food fight ever. Eating disorders exist everywhere, and nutritional guidelines have become a minefield peppered with sugar. How can anyone pretend to address obesity in children and the potential policy issues surrounding it? The stomach growling will hit a fever pitch. Getting the government out of children's health versus we must do something to protect children's health is a significant source of contention between Republicans and Democrats. Heck, state governments can't even afford to feed school children. But hang on, wait a minute. China says Taiwan is part of China. China might go after the microchip foundries in Taiwan. And anyway, it's too expensive to eat healthy food. And the only thing killing people is adverse reactions to big pharma. If Americans wanted cheap fruits and vegetables, China would ship synthetic edibles to the United States to fill the big box stores. But then you'd expect the Chinese to poison the broccoli with TikTok. And if somebody wanted to regulate that, there would be a horrific fight and a never-ending filibuster in Congress. The social justice warriors would protest, and conservatives would get super mad. And indeed, if there is a food crisis, it would have but one cause. Sam's finger would find one particular thing to point at and pronounce, "Let the bombing begin." I won't mention the warming thing. I don't want to get death threats. Remember Huawei and space lasers? You know who's messing with the thing that shall not be named to keep me safe. The food swamp is an unhealthy big business, so there are KFCs and lots of Coca-Cola in Beijing. Uncle Sam can also fight dirty. There are lots of fat kids in China these days. People in China are getting type 2 diabetes. Could it be a CIA plot? Medical science says there's a link between junk food and brain dysfunction. The State Department needs to provide more subsidies to the fast food industry and incentivize the invasion of Shanghai by Taco Bells. And I'm sure you can count on DeSantis to make certain pesky nutrition science doesn't interfere with your choice of snacks. Have we all forgotten how brilliantly provocative President Trump was with his room full of McDonald's fare? That was a Whole Foods beatdown, the likes of which a more enlightened leader would never have conceived. And let's not forget how China tried to poison Americans for decades, with their cheap Chinese restaurants and MSG-laced dishes. Food processing adds value, more sugar, more better, but leave the salt and pepper shakers on the table. And if you find some scientific studies that say ultra-processed food may contribute to cancer risk, you'd better prepare for a vicious fight with big food lobbyists. #politicized nutrition. One thing's for sure, Americans don't like being spied on by Chinese weather balloons. If Chinese spy masters had any respect for the American government, wouldn't they want to be a little more stealthy about their attempts to get info from a North Dakota field? Show some respect. Let's not forget that Uncle Sam is behind almost every conspiracy one can imagine. Big Pharma has a cure for everything, but they keep them secret to make Americans buy medications to treat their controversial lifestyle choices. But the Pentagon is clever. They've convinced China to use Western medicine, thereby weakening its people's immune systems and bleeding the country financially. Complementary and alternative medicine and Chinese traditional medicine are losing out to local Chinese big pharma. Silk knows that a bioweapon killed her sister Diamond. Where do you think this bioweapon originated? Bill Gates, perhaps? Or was it the Chinese? Star athletes get sick, and one side knows why, while the other side gets paid by Big Pharma to pretend otherwise. And if all this isn't enough for heightened rancor, good Americans will have to convince bad Americans what's causing the high price of eggs. Chicken egg yolk antibodies, IgYs, block the binding of multiple SARS-CoV-2 spike protein variants to human ACE2. And now, listen to this quote. I am sure this has nothing to do with why we have mass egg shortages or why entire chicken factories are burning down. Nope, not one bit. Influencer Brittany Cara. This fight will get uglier than a tarred and feathered egg yolk. But China makes fake eggs. Maybe China is behind the egg shortage and will find a way to safely drop eggs from its spy balloons that will brainwash people into locking themselves indoors away from a free vitamin D supply where they can brood about how so many Americans are evil and stupid. No, that can't be the case. Putler and his boyfriend Xi are using Twitter bots and Facebook posts to make Americans hate each other and elect very bad hombres on both sides, Putler and Xi are trying to spark a civil war in America. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle who serve at the pleasure of global financialized capitalism are too smart to fall for that gambit. They are flipping the script on China and Russia by laying the groundwork for a good old-fashioned, trumped-up reason for going to war with China. I can think of a good reason, and I don't need ChatGPT. China and its GlobeCap CEOs have been flooding the USA with cheap consumer goods for decades, and this will not stand. Finally, Americans will unite around the only things Americans ever unite around: killing and dying in a war 7,655.18 miles away from its shores. Well, Australians, Japanese, and Filipinos will do most of the fighting and dying, but they live much closer to China anyway. Hoorah! And who wins? Who always wins? I hope you are a shareholder. But maybe I'm being silly. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. It's not accurate to say that the United States wants to go to war with China. The relationship between the two countries is complex and multifaceted, with areas of cooperation and competition. While there are some concerns and tensions in the relationship, such as trade imbalances and human rights issues, both countries have engaged in diplomatic efforts to address these challenges. War is not a desirable outcome for either country, as it would have devastating consequences for both nations and the world as a whole. It is important for the United States and China to continue to engage in dialogue and work towards resolving their differences peacefully. Oh man, the diplomatic efforts on both sides are truly stellar, backbreaking, heroic. Yeah, right. Thank you for listening. William T. Out.